and welcome to a pioneering show, one of its kind. We are calling it Destination Sport. As you know, sport is a metaphor for life itself. Sports unites fans in a way no other activity can. And the business of sport also involves tourism because there is so much for fans to travel into various events, witness the events, experience the entire paraphernalia of the sports event, and actually breathe in the culture of the destination that they are traveling to. Today, for the episode, I've got two friends of mine, Raghav Gupta, founder and CEO of Fanatic Sports, and Boria Majumdar, dear friend, founder of RevSportz Global, and a historian, a man of many passions all around sport, a man who is committed to redefining the way sport is looked at in the country and beyond. Hello and welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you, Ashok. Thank you for the inspiring introduction.
Before we talk,
I'll just say two things before Ashok and Raghav basically take over. My job here is very simple, to sit down and listen to them. Both of these guys I know for a decade. Raghav and I, we have had maybe 1 million meetings. I've seen him grow. I've seen Fanatic grow from being a small company to becoming India's go-to destination for every sports fan to travel to every sports event around the world. The way they curate experiences, the way they do their work, and I've loved it. By the way, I've been a part of some of these programs, hosted some, seen the joy in the eyes of fans, whether it is in England, whether it is in in some football destination for FIFA, whether it is at Wimbledon. You can just name it and they have it. As far as Ashok is concerned, he's been a top-notch professional in the sports business domain. I've had the privilege and pleasure of working at Star. So when I was at the Oval, and that's where the show actually sort of started. I was at the Oval the final day. And by the way, as you guys watch it, it's 25 days to that Oval victory. So perfect day to launch it, Sports Day weekend. So I was at the Oval, 1 hour fight, last day, 1 hour is all that the match needed. Whoever wins, 35 runs, 4 wickets. Chocker block. And of the chocker block, 35,000 people there, must be 25,000 or maybe 25,000 people there, 20,000 Indians. Loads of people traveling to the UK from this part of the world, from the US, from Europe, from various parts. And my first thought was, look at this and celebrate the fan. My first call since coming back to India was to Raghav and say, hey, how many people did you take to the UK? How many people went for Wimbledon? Has sports tourism grown exponentially? Is it now, kind of our destination travel that the father with the son, the daughter with the mother, has it become part of our DNA? And he said, yes, and he's got data. Then I went to Ashok and said, look, sports business is an expanding domain in India. Can you guys put together this show? That's what it is all about. And I leave the two of them to take it forward.
wonderful, Boria. Thank you for that perspective. Nothing more interesting than doing something pioneering. And talking about pioneering, I'm going to go over to you, Raghav, straight. I think we all know that Fanatic Sports over the years has built a formidable reputation with regard to destination travel, with regard to sports. And I wanted to ask you this question. While you've been doing this and building this business, there must have been one initial insight, right? One sharp insight as to why fans travel for sport. What was it that really inspired you to get onto this journey?
Ashok, I think the journey started when I was 5, 6 years old, because I've been a complete sports buff. I've been this kid running around, hotels taking autographs since I was 5, 6 years old. I don't think I've missed whenever there was India game, when I was probably in my, early, from the age of 7, 8, when I used to miss school to watch a India game, and I used to, whenever I had the opportunity to go to a hotel where the Indian team was staying, I was there, running around, the lobby trying to take autographs. And probably my passion obviously started when my dad took me for the '87 World Cup in kind the World Cup finals, which Australia won, and I visited right after the game. India was not playing; it was Australia versus England, 1987. and finals in Eden Gardens. A completely inspiring stadium. Eden Gardens was probably one of the best stadiums in the world at that time. And straight after Australia winning the World Cup finals, a day game, my dad took me to the hotel, where the Indian team was, where the Australian team was staying. And I remember waiting at the lobby, and the Aussie winning team of Bruce Street, David Boone, Alan Border, Craig McDormand, then imagine that team walks in and there was a 6 feet cake made by the Oberoi Hotel. And I think that journey started there. And for me, my whole life became sport. I remember, and at that age, I started watching Wimbledon, and probably I didn't miss a day of Wimbledon from that day till today. That's how sports became part of my life. And now, obviously, I started my professional career, working in my family business, which is steel manufacturing, which is very different from what we're doing now. And steel manufacturing is a pretty brutal industry in terms of manufacturing. Anyways, is a different ball game. And probably there was a time in my steel business, which steel business has sporadic downturns. And in that journey, there was a time where I was trying to pivot my business to other verticals. And then I realized that if I want to travel to a destination where I am somebody gives me the whole bouquet of services, where somebody gives me because at that time tickets were not available, for even whether it's a cricket match, whether it's a football match, whether it is a Wimbledon of finals. So the access to tickets was very tough, and I realized that why not seek this opportunity, and that's when we I met certain mentors. Boria was one of them, and I asked what should what do you think this is a good idea? Because if you follow sport, and although I wasn't in the business of sport, but I realized that the Western economy, whether it's America or whether it's Europe or even Australia, they had companies who've been there for the last 20 years doing sports travel, and corporate hospitality. But India didn't have any dedicated company. That's how the idea came in. And then once you start doing what you love, it just it's a different journey.
Yeah.
So that's how it started in 2014. And our first tournament that we launched as part of Fanatic was the ICC T20 World Cup in Bangladesh. And we had taken 4 people, for that tournament. I mean, we had total 4 clients. Fast forward 2016 World Cup, we had probably 300-400 clients, and within 3-4 years, we had 12,000 clients for the 2019 World Cup in England. So obviously that kind of helps you understand that the pivot to sports travel was a very inspiring journey. And obviously if you follow a passion, I don't think there's I mean, we're lucky to do following a passion.
Yeah, from steel to sports, very, very inspiring, I must say. Um no, thank you for sharing that insight for us. And gentlemen, both of you are in this vantage position, given that sports tourism is now a $600 billion industry. And the question I want to ask both of you, and I'll come to both of you in a minute. The question I really want to ask is, Boria mentioned that Indians are traveling globally, and of course, sports tourism is a big component of that. So while that's happening, how do you see the future of sports traveling, sports tourism? Is there going to be a reverse phenomenon as well, a reverse trend that's going to happen? Otherwise, what do you think are going to be the trends? But before I go to that, I'd like you to ponder on that for a minute. I think at this point of time, since we talked about where Raghav started his journey, Boria, I'm going to ask you, as a custodian of sport, what's the history of sports traveling? I mean, when did fans start traveling, or are there any interesting insights from your library?
Everything has changed. I was having a chat with Milind Soman, and he tells me 80 people did the Ironman in Estonia from India. This is last week. Can you imagine 80 people doing the Ironman from India? It was the highest number in any country of the world. This is a last 10, 12 years phenomenon. Raghav actually has been riding the tiger. He stood by the industry and went with it. I think he was there at the right time for someone, and I had a chance meeting with him at a flight from Bhubaneswar to Calcutta. And as you know, I'm an intellectual snob. I was in my own domain. This guy comes up to me and says, I want to do sport. And I realized he'll say cricket. I said, okay. And he tells me, I want to do Olympic Games. My antenna went up. I said, what is he saying? He said, I want to take Indians to Rio. I thought it was the most ambitious project. I thought here was someone who was refreshing, who was actually talking the language I've been saying for the longest time, that Olympic, Paralympic, FIFA, Wimbledon, cricket, everything can coexist. And he was riding that journey and making it happen. He created his own template and got the rights to Rio. He created his own template and got the right to Tokyo. Yes, because of COVID, it did not happen. That's a different matter. But the audaciousness of the whole journey, the courage to embark on that journey. And you asked me, when did I see Indians travel? Now, I was one of those Indians who was traveling. I didn't have accred in 2002-3. I had meager means at Oxford. I used to save my money and go and watch a day at Lord's, or go and watch in Germany 2006, go and watch FIFA. Used to be part of the ballot and be there for 8, 10, 11, 12 hours and be there. And even then wasn't sure of tickets. Now, with someone like Raghav, you just need to go to them and say, oh, you know what, I want debenture seats for Wimbledon, I want vantage point for FIFA, or I want the best seat in the house for cricket. And the door opens up. This is phenomenal. The future, I leave it to Raghav because it's his show and your show. All I will say is, you have now tasted blood. This will only grow exponentially. The other thing will also be possible, Ashok. When India hosts 2036, I want to ask Raghav how many thousand people he will bring to India from different parts of the world. Not just take to that part of the world, but to bring to India. Now that will also happen for the Commonwealth Games in 30, for the IPL going forward for 2036. I think that's the next aspect of sports travel that incredible India will open up to the world.
Wow. I mean, I think that is even more inspiring. So, Raghav, back to you then. I mean, I'm very curious to know what is this template that Borja is talking about that you built? And also, what's your vision going forward in terms of the future of global sports, as well as in terms of the point that Borja just made, which is people traveling back to India, given the sporting dreams that India has?
This is something which the future motivates us every day, and we've seen the exponential growth. First, I will talk about the global growth of sports experiences. It is not just India. India is a riding tiger, as Boria said, and India has obviously tasted blood. The youth, the corporates, the average fan across the country has just woken up. They've just woken up to experiencing sports worldwide, starting from IPL in India, watching their home teams play in their cities, from now traveling overseas. Okay, when we used to approach corporates in 2015, if I was personally going to meet the CEOs and CMOs of large Fortune 500 or Indian large corporates, nobody even had heard of corporates taking their clients or their distribution to sporting events. And we used to we were very anxious, that whether corporates will travel for sports, because there were very very few, 1 out of 100, who had probably experienced taking their the clients or their network for a cricket World Cup, but that's about it. But what made us believe was that it is not possible that the Western world, all the large corporates are using sports as a medium of engagement, and sports experiences are part of a corporate DNA. It is not luxury. And how sports experiences is the best platform for client engagement and for retention for large corporates. And we said that this has to come to India. It's not possible. And if you realize, not just sports travel, but just the whole business of sports is exploding in India. If you see, when in 2016, when we got the Rio license, Indian fans were desperate to go to Rio, but there was no opportunity. Fortunately, we were the first company ever in the history of independent India to get Olympics into India in terms of tickets. And but when we went to corporates, there was nobody interested. Fast forward 3 4 years, yes, the numbers grew significantly, but the real cusp of that transition started 4 5 years ago, and when India started waking up to sport, where sport became a part of somebody's life. What I've been telling my entire team, and it seems, I mean, I love speaking. What I'm going to say right now is that when we started, when we were kids, when we used to go and play cricket, I used to play something or the other all day, whether it's badminton, cricket, tennis. And after 3 4 hours, my parents used to get me back home, that you have to now study. Now it's time to study. Your entertainment is over. Your fun part of the day is over. Now come back to study. But now it's the reverse. The parents, whether it's not just the urban cities. I'm talking about tier two, tier three, even the villages. Okay, literally where there's literacy. The parents and the families are encouraging their children to play sport. Now, sports is not lifestyle; it's a part of your upbringing. So, if you see Australia, an average person plays 4 to 5 sports. I mean, if you're not playing sport, you are probably, not even you're considered an outcast, literally. And in India, the fact that sports is now becoming a part of somebody's basic upbringing. It is not luxury, it is not entertainment. So that journey of how sports is being embraced by the country, speaks a lot on where we are heading. Okay, in terms of sports being, a part of lifestyle and somebody's upbringing. So, and what is very important is that how parents today are encouraging their children to participate and play sport. It is unbelievable. Whether it's friends and family, whether it is, you see how at every sport, Boja gave me numbers about how even, whether shooting or whether it is, wrestling or whether it is, even Iron Man. Can you imagine 80 athletes from India for Iron Man? I thought maybe two or three. You know, so that just shows that the Indian youth is participating in performing of sports, is something which is fascinating. And that, this is the first part of your answer, that sports is being embraced in the country like never before. And we are the tip of the iceberg, to be honest, okay? The other very important part is how globally the world of experiences is exploding, you know. So you will have your AIs and you have your technology and you'll have, everything on one part, one side of the fence, but the other part is experiences. So, so luxury cars and, jewelry and all these flamboyant assets, the tangible assets, is something where people will have. But today, what people are really aspiring to spend on is experiences. And the important part is that imagine how countries like the UK and France and the US, the demand for sports tickets and experiences is growing exponentially there. So it is. So imagine if the developed world is growing exponentially in terms of demand for tickets and corporate boxes and the VIP experiences. So you can imagine how big the demand in India will be in terms of numbers. Considering we have 20% of the world's population. So now a very important number, or data point here is that 20% of the world's population are Indians. Cricket was the cheapest tickets in the world 10 years back. Between rugby, Formula One, tennis, football, cricket, the prices of cricket tickets, I'm talking about the very high end tickets also, were very, very cheap compared to the other, prices of other sports. Cricket is now at par with any other sport. If you see the current, and these are all, I'm talking the official price. I'm not talking about the resale, black market. I'm talking about the official pricing in which the rights holder with the ICC or FIFA or UEFA or Wimbledon are leasing tickets. If you see the prices of the VIP boxes and the lounges and even the average ticket prices that we had in the ICC World Cup, the last two World Cups, or in the Champions Trophy or the T20 World Cup, is exponentially higher than what was 3 years back. And now the cricket ticket prices are par with global sports, which shows that obviously somebody is paying for it.
Yeah.
Ashok, my
So
point also here is yes, you go ahead and I'll just add a point.
yeah, I think Raghav mentioned this thing about experience. So I wanted to ask you, as a man who's dedicated his life to telling stories about sports with so much of passion and commitment, what is the influence that storytelling has, on curating the experience when it comes to traveling?
See, I think the industry is synergistic. Whether it is broadcast, whether it is sports tourism or sport travel, or whether it is us in the media. So, for example, when you beam live pictures of a packed oval cricket ground with Indian fans shouting and cheering to Raghav's drawing room, his son and his wife and his friends and family get inspired to say, "You want to, I want to belong there. I want to belong there and be part of the same fan who's jumping up and down." In my case, when I'm sitting there and writing about that particular experience and saying, "Oh, you know what, those fans which you've not seen on telly were actually screaming Ganpati Bappa Moria and celebrating Indianness in a peculiar way in the UK, in central London," and you're like, wow, this is a global takeover of India. I mean, India is sort of speaking its language to the world, so why not be part of that story, that incredible India story? So I think there is harmony, there is synergy. I think as I said, I mean, I know last few minutes on the show, and we'll do it fortnightly with particular events. I think Raghav is onto something where the world is his oyster. How he curates experiences and makes it more interesting and more personal. And this is where it will head, Ashok, is rather than big groups, it will now become hyper personalization, which will be the way forward. So Boria wants to watch the Oval Test match from that particular seat in that particular stand. Ashok wants to watch Wimbledon or the LA Olympics from that particular seat in that particular stand. Raghav wants to watch one final time of Messi versus Ronaldo in America during the World Cup. Now, can Fanatic make that happen? So that I think is now the way forward, and people will spend. We know Indians have the maximum money and consumable power and all of that. We know that, and Raghav said, what will you do? Now I'm fond of watches. Somebody will say, I've got 10 luxury watches. How many will you wear? One, two, three. But when I have a son or a daughter, when I have a friend and I've taken him to a Rafa versus Roger match at Wimbledon or a Messi versus Ronaldo in FIFA, that memory will outlive me for a lifetime, and I will come and say, you know what, I was there. That is the future of sports experiences, and I think Fanatic is riding that wave.
I will add
Amazing.
on to. I'm very excited to share one anecdote here. So just to take cue from Boria's point, that today when you go to a large gathering or to a social gathering, or I'm talking about the ultra high net individuals, whether it's in London, because we host such events, and I'm part of such gatherings, the point of discussion 15 years back, 10 years back, was people were flashing their houses and, in different parts of the world, or their luxury purchases, whether it's a car or, a watch or, these tangible things. Today, the point of conversation today it's only about whether you've attended the Wimbledon finals or did you attend the Lord's, test. And I'll give you a very fascinating story. In this particular month, in July, we had the whole country flocked to, London, where we had an experience where you watching Lord's Test, India versus England on day one, and you were watching Wimbledon semi-finals on day two. And that was the only conversation that was, being talked about at any social gathering in the country. So that gives you, the future of our industry.
Perfect. I think that sums it up and that sets it up in terms of context for the next episode, which is where I'm going to ask my dear friend Raghav, who's going to continue to be the lead guest on this show, to talk about the future of sports tourism and what we can start to witness as we go forward. On that note, I'd like to thank both of you. Boria, thanks for taking time out and joining us on this show. And Raghav, it's been fascinating to listen to your journey and especially the comment that you made that sports tourism is not just about lifestyle; it's about upbringing, and that's something that I'm going to pick up for more discussion as we go forward. Thank you for coming in, and viewers, do stay tuned. I think this is an exciting subject. We've not seen the end of it, and there is much, much more to talk about. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Borila and Ashok. Thank you, RevSportz. Thank you.